Hi.
So I'm just going to go through a couple of things here on sort of how it's going to work, because what I'd suggest, once I finish this bit, Debs, if you can mute everybody,
Yeah.
if that's okay with you all. Just, you know, it's like, not yet, it's fine for the minute. But can you all make sure that you've got access to your chat box? It's at the bottom when you scroll your cursor along the bottom of the screen if you're on a laptop. Not sure where it's on the phone. But just make sure you've got your chat box, because there's stuff going up there. But I am going to be asking you to type something in on that if you feel like it. The other thing is, once I get started, can I suggest, because we've got quite a few, are most of you on gallery view? In other words, when you look at the screen, can you see lots of little boxes? Can you put thumbs up if that's what you can see? Lots of little boxes.
No, I can only see you, Zoe.
Okay, Debs, Debbie, that's fine. Keep on that view, because that means you're on speaker view. If the rest of you go up to the top right hand side, if you're on a laptop, you can see, sorry, yeah, top right, it'll say speaker view or gallery view. If you click it to from gallery to speaker, I should come up in the middle and you'll have screens along the top. The reason I'm saying put me on screen view, sorry about getting the close up and the hair going down here, but I'll be showing some cards, and with a tiny gallery view, you won't be able to see them still out. So I'd suggest that you now switch your screen to speaker view, not gallery view, if that's okay with you all. And just in case you've not used that before, at the top, when you've got gallery view on, either at the top or on the right hand side, you'll see only about 4 or 5 squares, but there'll be an arrow, which means you can scroll across to see other people. So what I'm going to suggest, if it's okay with you guys, is if, does anybody have any questions, by the way, on speaker view or chat?
Yeah.
Okay?
I'm confused, sorry. Sorry, now I've got on speaker view, so I'm seeing everybody at the moment, whereas I was gallery view before, but I don't know how to get it back to gallery view.
Press it again. At the top right.
Okay.
All right.
Right, thank you.
Okie doke. So, Debs, if you wouldn't mind muting everybody now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Apart from you, Zoe.
Thank you. Lovely. Okay, so welcome to my talk, Demystifying the Tarot, which I originally gave at one of Deb's Roots of Life events as a face-to-face talk. So this is sort of adapted from that. So some of you I know here have already had readings with me, so I know you kind of know what tarot is. Some of you might be complete newbies and have no idea, and some of you might be very skeptical and thinking, well, I'm not really sure about this, but I'll go along because I might find something out. So if you can access the chat box, which if you're on a laptop is on the right hand side at the bottom in the white bit, I'd just like you, if you just want to, if you could just think of one word that you think of when you think of the word tarot. What one word do you think of? Can you just type that in and I'll just have a look and see what people are putting. We've got insight, the Fool. Hope that wasn't personal, Rick. Spiritual, guidance, future, tower, comforted, exciting, curiosity, guiding, connect, insightful, thought-provoking. Great, that's lovely. And mystical, spiritual, future, guidance, guiding. Great. So by the look of it, we've not got anybody who's actually put terrifying, scary, or anything like that. Because that, when I finally came out, as some of you know, last year as a tarot reader in business, I was very scared about what people's reactions might be, because there is a lot of, I think, misconceptions, misunderstandings about the tarot. And what I love actually here are some of the things about thought-provoking guidance. I mean, that's how I use support, and guidance is how I use tarot. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of the history and background of the tarot to hopefully debunk some of the myths and explain why some of them came about. And I will be using the Rider-Waite Tarot deck. So any of you who are familiar with the tarot, this is the one that most people learn on, and I would highly recommend, if you are going to start the tarot, that this is the deck that you get. Universal Rider-Waite or Universal Waite or Rider-Waite tarot, because this is the one that most modern decks are based on. But tarot actually started as an Italian, or certainly European medieval card game. It wasn't a divination game. And I think the word tarot, they're not quite sure exactly where it comes from. They think it's possibly Italian or French. And there was a card game in the 15th century, which was called tarocchi. And it had the normal sort of cards that we would know today, with spades and diamonds and clubs, etc. But it also had, I think it had aces and kings, queens, jacks, and it also had an extra card, which is often called the page in the modern deck. So it wasn't until it started in the 15th century, the very rich Italians, the sort of Medici families, the Sforzas, all of those, they loved playing these games. And so they had their own decks designed, and they made beautiful artwork. There are still about 15 of these beautiful decks in existence in galleries and museums around the world. And they started to really decorate the face cards, so the king, queen, jack cards, and they became more and more elaborate. So I think this is when it started to move into the idea, actually we could use the cards for what they call divination, for fortune telling, for seeing the future. So it moved from being a card game called tarocchi into something that we started to get known as tarot. That was the particular deck. And then in the probably mid to late 18th century, when fortune telling really took off, tarot started to be used much more for this particular thing. It was in the 19th century when it really got a hold, and it's also then it's where the church started to get involved, because some would say in the church, in the religion, you were not supposed to use divination, only God was supposed to do that. So it was started to be considered from about the 18th century onwards to be the work of the devil by some. So this is where some of the sort of black magic kind of scary stuff that people hear about came from. And then in the turn of the century, this is when this famous deck was designed, and the artwork on it was done by a woman called Pamela Coleman Smith, who I think was of Native American heritage. And she sort of apparently received channeled images to describe the pictures that would go onto all the cards. So by this time, we have 4 suits, which are now being called, instead of diamonds, clubs, spades, they're now being called swords, wands, pentacles, and cups, with slight differentiations on the names. And most importantly, became these 22, what we call major arcana cards, the famous cards. When I ask people, you know, what do you know of the tarot? Sometimes they'll just mention the James Bond film with Jane Seymour playing solitaire, and you know the death card comes up and it all goes da, da, da. So part of my demystifying is to explain some of these cards. So basically from about 100 years ago, tarot became much more mainstream. The Rider-Waite deck became the go-to deck, And it wasn't until about the 1960s that we started to see some other decks and also oracle cards coming in. So I thought I'd just now go through some of the cards. So again, this is all part of the demystifying bit. So as I say, there are 22 picture cards and 4 suits, which go ace to 10, and then page, knight, queen, king. So of the 22 major cards, the first one, and I noticed a couple of people have mentioned the Fool, and this is the famous Fool card. So this is the 0 card. It's the beginning of the hero's journey, as someone said there, the Fool's journey. It's the first card of the major arcana, and major cards are more significant in your reading than the suits. And this traditional card, there he is, this chap setting off blithely onto his journey. It's a new journey of life, and he's got all he needs in his teeny tiny little knapsack there. And he's got his head up, he's joyfully singing to the world, and he's got a little dog by his side, sort of bobbing along with him, and he's about to step off a cliff. And it's that thing of, you know, when you start off and somebody said, well, I've just got to step off the cliff and see what happens, and, you know, hope I don't crash land. And that's the sort of symbolism of the Fool. And as with all cards in tarot, the traditional meanings can be learnt, then interpreted once you can develop your skills. And so obviously if this card came up, I mainly do business, I'd mainly do readings for people in business, but if this card came up, it would very much be signifying a new adventure. Another one in the major arcana, which again, they very often, that's why the artwork is so great, they speak for themselves. So here, the Hermit, if this card comes up, you know, this, I mean, the very word, you know, immediately you're thinking, well, it is about going and becoming a hermit, cutting yourself off. And he's shining a light, and this light here would be the light that you would shine onto. If you're needing to review and reflect, you might need to go into sort of hermit mode to have a look at the issues that are concerning you most. I think it's quite interesting in some respects, certainly in the early days of lockdown, this card, which did come up in quite a few people's readings, I think Jane, we had it once or twice, didn't we? I think the Hermit card comes up when we've got to sort of take time out, and boy, have we been having some time to take time out. Another card, again, it speaks for itself, the Wheel of Fortune, and this one, you know, generally when it comes up, closer to the camera, sorry, thank you. When this card comes up, the Wheel of Fortune usually means the Wheel of Fortune is turning in your favor. Because obviously the Wheel of Fortune turns round and round all the time. So sometimes it turns in your favor and sometimes it turns the other way. Now, I personally don't do reversals, in other words, upside down cards in readings. I don't think my brain can take it. And I manage to interpret them well enough without having them upside down. But in a traditional reading, if your card came upside down like this, you would find that perhaps the Wheel of Fortune was moving away from you for the moment. So that's meeting. I have to say as well, there are as many tarot readers to suit what you want out there, in the same way that there are as many coaches, there are as many Reiki healers. You need to find the right one for you. I believe that my gift, my gift, I suppose, is to help people to find the positive things in life. I'm as most of you know, I'm a fairly positive person, and I don't believe there's any such thing as a negative card. I'm going to show you one or two that have been thought to be. But my role is to help people to interpret whatever might come up. I'll go into the whole how we use the cards a little bit later. But this is the one that usually gets the dun, dun, dun moment, the Death card. Now, this is the traditional Rider-Waite deck. So this is the figure of death. It's a skeleton in armor, on a white horse with a white rose of Yorkshire, we won't mention that, a white rose, and he's walking ahead. And all people normally see in this is the word death and a skeleton. And I think, oh my God, you know, if I get that, I'm going to die. Well, no. I mean, we're all going to die. So, you know, it doesn't mean, usually, I have to say, it doesn't mean, who's this? Amanda, it's your favorite. I love that. It's one of my favorites. It does not mean death. In modern decks, it's often called transformation, and that is the meaning. It means you are transitioning or transforming from one state to another. And when it comes up in a reading, it's about, in the same way that the Tower, it's about moving from one phase to another. Now, we are all of us, every single one of us on the planet at this moment, in a state of transition. Therefore, the death card is particularly appropriate. Now, of course, it is also appropriate because there is a lot of death around. So there is a literal sign to this. But I can promise you, if this comes up in your readings, if you ever, you know, haven't had a reading and you're worried because of these cards, which is very often what people are, please don't worry. It means you're going through a phase of transition, and depending on what stage you're in your life, your reading can maybe help you to go through that. Another one that people get very spooked about, the devil. Oh, and I have had this card coming up so much recently. So the devil is about obsession. It's about being hooked into things that are no good for you. And I know we've got Kevin Porter here, who does a lot of hypnotherapy work and helps people to move from addiction into a more healthy place. And quite a few of you who are healers, who are people with those gifts, can help people to get rid of obsession. So I've been having this because I know damn well I'm drinking far too much gin and tonic now, you know. When was wine o'clock? Is it about, you know, I don't know, 10 to 12? No, I'm slightly exaggerating. But anyway, and what this is in the traditional deck, this is the devil, and he's got two people who are chained. And those of you who know the lovers cards, this is the lovers, the two lovers, but this time they are chained into an obsession. And if the question was to do with relationships, and I don't really do relationship readings per se, then it would mean that you're trapped into an unhealthy relationship. Another one, I was doing a tarot talk, sounds over the yard, I'm quite right, Kevin. Just that. The Tower. I mean, it's dramatic. Look at this, you know, there's lightning strikes, there's two people falling down. Oh my God. Yes, it is about dramatic change. This is big change. When this comes up, this is big change, which sometimes I find generally with the people I work with, who I read with, it's very often because the change has been resisted and something happens to shake up that resistance. Now, I would say that coronavirus, COVID-19, is our Tower moment, okay, on the planet. We have had a massive Tower moment. When you get a Tower moment, things are never the same again. They are major changes. And I'm sure if you look in your life, there will have been some major things that happened, which kind of blew everything out the water. And when things settled down, you realized everything had changed. And again, with the Tower card, if it comes up in the reading, it could be, yes, perhaps a sort of sign that something is coming along that is going to change, but it doesn't necessarily mean for the worse, although at times it can feel very unsettling. But it may also be a major insight. Very often this comes up when you're going to get a sort of one of those eureka epiphany moments, when you suddenly see the world from a completely different angle. Everything you believed in before has changed. So it is a very significant card. So those are just a few of the major arcana cards, which people know. There are 22 of them. I'm not going to go through all of them now, because I'm just going to move on to the suits. And each of the suits has a different name, and they each refer to earth, fire, air and water, and so there is an astrological connection here as well. So those of you who are into astrology, there I'll explain where they fit in as well. So we have the suit of swords, This is air energy, so that would be Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. And again, you know, the sword, it's the sword of truth. Sword is to do with the mind, okay? Sword is to do with your thoughts, what's in your head. It's to do with your challenges. And it's to do with the way you think. So when swords comes up, and it is the one suit, I would say there are more cards in there which are to do with more with facing challenges than say cups or wands. But it's to do with the mind. The Ace of Wands, this is the fire ones, the Ace of Wands. So this is fire signs, so that would be Leo, Sagittarius, and Aries. And the wands represent creativity, spirituality. It represents work, but more to do with finding your life purpose. A lot of the work that I do with my clients is to do with them actually finding what it is they're meant to be doing and then looking at practical ways to implement it. Pentacles, and a way it's often called coins as well. Pentacles is to do with more traditional down to earth energy. So it's Taurus, Capricorn, and oh, someone got a dog there. Who's
oh, no, it's my, sorry, it's me. What's...
All right. It's to do with so Taurus, Capricorn, and help me out here, what's the other earth sign? Virgo. And this is to do with prosperity, it's to do with your work, it's to do with stability. There's been a lot of this energy coming up recently in readings. I think when I did the full moon reading, which I do as a general one on YouTube, there was some new energy coming in as we start to think about new ways of looking at the way we work, etc. Cups. I love this card. The design of this card particularly. I don't know if you can see it here. I'm trying to look in the in my little window. I'll tell you what. I'm just going to put my own speaker view on. No, I've got Debs in there now. Right. That's nothing against Debs, but. Okay, so this is a cup, and it's emotions, it's water. So we've got Pisces, Scorpio, and Cancer. And when this card comes up in your reading, this would be more to do with your feelings, your thoughts, to do with your relations with others, your connections. And I do just love it. It's got the Dove of Peace there, and it's just this cup overflowing. The aces, by the way, always represent new beginnings. So if this came up, it would be about a new relationship, not necessarily a new love. That might depend on other things, but certainly to do with new feelings, new emotions. So those are the 4 suits. And so I just thought now I'd just briefly explain how I work, how different tarot readers work. But before that, I've talked all about the Rider-Waite deck. But tarot decks these days come in all shapes and sizes to suit all sorts of people. If you're learning tarot, please do learn with the Rider-Waite if you can, because the others are all sort of, most of them are based on that. But once you've got into it, you might find, like me, you start to become a bit obsessed by collecting decks. I have about 40 tarot and oracle decks. I'll briefly touch on the difference of oracle. If I forget, please do remind me of oracle and tarot. But there's all sorts. So my friend Liz, who is there somewhere, actually her name is User, she's down there. Liz got me this for Christmas, I think, a couple of years ago. It's very quirky. It's called the Joie de Vivre deck. And as I sometimes have joie de vivre, I thought it's very appropriate. But the pictures are very whimsical and very different from the traditional tarot. This is the Fool, if you can see. The Fool here is a very different figure from that young man about to fall off a cliff. You've got a very different energy here in the, this is not one I generally use with clients. It's a very powerful deck. This deck I wouldn't recommend for beginners at all. definitely not, because the imagery on them is not easy to interpret if you're just learning. But once you get into your own intuition, which I'll talk about in a minute, this Wild Unknown Tarot deck is very powerful. The images on the, I won't open the box because it'll take time, but if I just hold that up, you can see some of the images there. So that's a very different energy. And then this is my absolute favorite at the moment. Those of you who are having readings or, well, coaching with the cards sessions at the moment, you will know this deck. This is the one I'm using a lot. It's beautiful energy. The Light Seers deck. I do think the modern designers, the modern creators of the decks, they're using a very different energy from those that were designed some time ago. And they're putting a lot of the sort of modern ways of thinking into tarot. And this Light Seers deck, and I think Rick, you know, this would be one with your talk on light workers and those of us that are doing this kind of thing. This is a great one for that. Very modern imagery. I will just open this one because it's a lot easier. I mean, this is a lovely one. Say like the Ace of Wands. If we just compare traditional Rider-Waite deck, wand, creativity, you know, the little shoots of creativity coming out. Look at this one. This is the Ace of Wands in the Light Seers deck, and it's got this lovely sort of curly, well, I can't remember, like a fern shape, with light coming out of it. So very different energy, beautiful. So as I say, it's a good idea to learn. I'm starting, I'll tell you about it at the end, I'm starting a Learn Tarot course on Zoom next week. And I'm recommending everybody who wants to join in to get the Rider-Waite deck to learn and then develop. So going on to actually how it works and how it does, I would say if you are interested in it, you don't need to think about it as being psychic. The word psychic has so many connotations. I'm still resisting using that word about myself, although others do use it about me. Mainly that's me getting in my own way, if you like. But really, if you think about being highly intuitive, that's the definition I would use. And the way to use the cards is to tap into your intuition. And we all have that. You've all got it. Anybody can do the cards. It is simply, and I mean truly, truly, simply a matter of tuning into your intuition, which is simple to say. And for us to really listen to it, you have to start listening to your gut. You know, that gut feeling. Well, there's a reason why that, those of you who obviously do a lot of Reiki work and healing work, you know, where we hold our tension, where we hold our feelings is in our gut. And it's the solar plexus chakra, the sacral chakra. And in tarot, once you've learnt the meaning of the cards, you can read them, but then you start to use your intuition to interpret them. So I am not a clairvoyant, and I just want to explain the differences between what a clairvoyant is and perhaps what I am and what some of you are. And I'm going into, I'm really stepping into, I mean, 2 years ago, you would not have heard me saying this. So I'm a clairsentient. A clairvoyant, so voyeur, you know, voyeur, voir from the French, to see. So a clairvoyant sees the future. And that is the one that we think about when we think of card readers and we think of them predicting the future. So if a clairvoyant has the gift of foresight, that is where they see the future, okay? So a clairvoyant may very well be also a medium, but a clairvoyant, certainly with the cards or a crystal ball or whatever it is, sees the future. I certainly don't. I have never seen the future. I've had premonitions at once or twice, but what I definitely have, and what a lot of you will have, is a very strong sense of intuition. And what I've done over the last few years, since I finally acknowledged this, is to develop that intuition to a point where I believe now it is so well honed that it is of real value to my clients. And I'm what they call a clairsentient. So sense, sentient, to be sentient, to feel. So clairsentience, feel things. So those of you that maybe go into a house or go into go somewhere, you know, when you know, if you're buying a house, I mean, Martin was saying about moving. If you go and you're looking for a house, you know, you'll go into one place and you'll say, oh, I don't like the feel of this. And you'll go somewhere else and go, oh, this feels nice. And you can't explain it, because you're looking around, you're thinking, well, you know, it's got and I remember with the cottage I lived in called Cobweb Cottage. It was a ramshackled old place. I mean, there was so much wrong with it. Oh, it felt cozy. As soon as I walked in, it felt cozy. And you know, it's those feelings you get that you can use to develop your skills as a clairsentient, or to help you read the cards. And when you are looking for a card reader, you might well want somebody to predict the future and to tell you exactly what's going to happen. And then you need to be looking for a clairvoyant. And I think Debbie Henderson, you go to a clairvoyant, don't you? And you know, they will tell you what the future is going to be. I will help you to interpret and get guidance. But actually, what I work with people is much more about saying, well, this is what the cards seem to be indicating, but I'm working with the person. I'm using coaching skills as well. I'm not predicting the future. I'm helping people to get more guidance about current situations. And so there's and then there's clairaudience. Clairaudience they hear voices. So mediums are clairaudience. So clair, by the way, is the seeing, the sight, if you like, the clarity rather. So clairaudience hear clearly, they hear voices. Clairvoyance see clearly, and clairsentience feel clearly. So those of you that here are maybe starting to develop your skills as a reader, you will have one or other of those. But most people certainly will have that intuitive side of things. And I know now, looking back on my own life, that I've had it quite highly developed all my life. I just sort of ignored it a lot of the time. So that's a bit about the sort of background of the cards. And then how they work in readings is, generally speaking, you will learn how to do, or your reader who reads for you will do anything from a very simple sort of one card reading, which would be take the deck, shuffle the cards. I wish I could shuffle like one of those, you know, people in Las Vegas, croupier sort of things. And then you choose the card. I'll just pick this at random. The client has asked a question, and then you pick the card, and the card comes up. In this case, this is a little bit about sort of minor conflict, minor battles going on. Could be, it's the 5 of Wands. Wands, you remember, is creativity, spirituality, a bit to do with your work. It's not so much in the head as to do with your feelings, your intuitions. And when I look at this one, if this might be a message for somebody, I don't really do that. But anyway, might be something relevance here. It's to do with petty squabbles. If anybody's got any petty squabbles going on, the message I've got for you is stop playing the game and get out of it. Let them get on with it. So you shuffle the cards. You might choose one card. When I'm doing live talks like at Deb's, I actually go around the audience and I just pull a card for somebody and I literally read it. I read the first thing, as I did then, that comes into my head. I do not hold on to whether or not it is right or wrong. And people say to me, you know, well, what if you know people and you know things about them? And I said, well, I'm not trying to pretend that, you know, I know mystical stuff. I'm not a, you know, when mediums read for people and they say, oh, well, of course they'll have had an Uncle Jim in the Uncle Jack in the war, in World War I, or whatever. You know, there are genuine mediums and not genuine mediums. I'm a genuine reader in as much as I will pick up what I pick up and I will share what I share. And if it's of help to you, that's great. And if it's not, that's fine, because as soon as I read, and those of you that have had coaching and reading know this, in the coaching it'll be all, so why do you think that? And oh, that's interesting. Now what would you do then? And then I'll pick a card and I'll go, oh right, The moon. Okay, now you've got to stop listening to those naggy voices in your head that tell you this, that, and the other, because it's, and I will suddenly go into some completely different mode. And I go, oh, I don't know where that came from. Spirit, God, the universe, I don't know. It comes. So with the reading, they can be 1, 2, 3 card readings. And then you go into the bigger readings. When I'm doing a full reading for a client, it would normally take up to an hour and a half, and it's the Celtic Cross, which goes in depth into past, present, future, looking at all sorts of variables. The one I do most often is the sort of smaller cross reading, which I call a sort of guidance reading. It's the one I do on my channel for YouTube, for the weekly or monthly or whatever. And that will give you sort of yourself in the center, your environment, challenge, opportunity, what's gone in the past, what's coming up in the future. But again, it's guidance. The thing I find when I'm coaching, so how I would normally work with a client, so these are business clients, they'll have the normal coaching session on whatever issues facing them. At the moment, most of the clients I'm working with, we're dealing with getting through this situation, keeping our sanity, and then looking at where do we want to be later and how can we get there. Coaching is very practical, all practical steps focused on the future. And then the reading will come in, and either the reading will corroborate what's come up in the coaching with some extra messages, or it will add something extra. I remember somebody, it was about a month ago actually, and I did a reading for them, a coaching session, which was very specifically work focused. And then we did the card reading, and it was all cups. It was all to do with emotions. And I had no idea, because this had not been touched on in the coaching. And I said, look, you know, this is what I'm interpreting. This is what I'm getting. I don't know if this is of any help. And that client just sort of burst into tears and then shared something much more personal that was going on. And we were then able to look at the cards to get some support and guidance from it. So that's how I work. Now, Debs has many readers who, you know, at her events and, you know, online or whatever, who work very differently. My goal, my passion, I've become quite evangelical about it now, I've finally come out, is to get tarot more accepted in the business world. So those of you here, I'd see 1 or 2 people talking about my readings, are those of you who've had them, they've nearly all been sort of business readings. I do readings for non-work as well, but I'm definitely not one that, you know, if you want to meet a tall, dark, handsome stranger, or you want to know whether or not, I don't know, you're going to win the lottery or anything, I'm not that sort of reader. I am quite practical, down to earth, but in America, it's really common now to use tarot as a guidance. I used to use the word tool, and then I was talking with somebody about this, and I said, oh, well, tarot's just a tool. Some of you know this story. I said, tarot's just a tool. And something fell off. I don't know, I'm in the lounge here. Something fell off either the mantelpiece or somewhere. And it was like, don't just say we're just a tool kind of thing. So it's a guidance technique, or it's a guidance gift, I would say. In the same way that I'm trained in neurolinguistic programming, transactional analysis, psychological things, all of those, and, you know, tools and techniques to use in my coaching. The thing is that if you use it as a way to get you to think, what I say to clients is, you know, if this helps you to look at something in a different way, to give you greater insight into what you are dealing with at the moment, then it can only be a plus. I've stopped questioning it, where it comes from. I'm going to finish off actually in a moment with just how I got into this and how in this later stage happened. particularly because the person who helped me with this is actually in the Zoom. Sorry about that. In the room. And then I'll tell you about the course, and then I'm just going to open it up for questions. So I had my first tarot reading in my 30s, got scared witless, because I mean, this person it was a friend who was doing, and she just learned a little bit about tarot, and she did this, and this card came up, and she suddenly went, oh, looking at the card. I went, oh my God, oh no, something awful's going to happen. I was like, oh, you don't need to hear that, do you? Especially when often people are coming to you for guidance when things are a bit challenging. So it put me off completely. I didn't touch tarot again, but I've always been interested in astrology and all of that, and I've always been a bit different, even when I was doing my most corporate stuff, you know. I never quite fitted in. And I was over in Ireland 17 years ago doing my coach training. It was a 6-month, I used to fly over once a month to Ireland to do this brilliant training course. And there was a young, she called herself a gypsy, so you know, gypsy girl, a traveller, who was on our course, who couldn't really read or write, and was doing all the exams actually by recording, but she was a natural. And I helped her with something, and she came up to me afterwards, and she said to me, when you came into the course, there were 62 of us on this course, she said, I noticed you because you had an aura. And I had no idea what she was talking about. Aura, what's that? You know? And she said she said you were sort of glowing, and oh, okay. And she said you're a healer, and she talked, and then she said I'm you know, it was literally 7th daughter of a 7th daughter, and she had in her family, this was in Thurles, which is in the centre of Ireland, many generations, but not all of them got it, of clairvoyance. And she said she was actually starting to develop, and she said, I think you are a healer, you should be using this gift. And I got into tarot then. I won't go into all the details, but I started doing readings then. So that was 17 years ago. I did them for friends and family, and then I started doing them. I did them in Kendal, in a shop, in the basement of a shop called Betty and Babs, which has gone now. It's near the Thai restaurant opposite the brewery. And I used to do them once a week there. And then things happened, and I sort of stopped doing them for many years. And some of you know that when my coaching business crashed in 2008-9, I became a travel writer and blogger. And I did that for 10 years. And 2 years ago, well, sort of 8 years, 2 years ago, I decided I'd had enough and I wanted to get back into coaching. I got really stuck, really depressed, more depressed than I've ever been in my life. And I didn't know what direction to go. And my lovely friend Liz, for my birthday, gave me a psychic reading with someone called Karen Seegers in Ulverston, and it changed my life. And the reason it changed my life is she said, basically, if you keep trying to do what you're doing without acknowledging your gift and the fact that you can help others, you are not going to get anywhere. And she said, you've got to be able to combine it. You know, you can combine it with what you do, your coaching, but you must do the psychic reading side of things. She didn't actually say readings. She said, you must find a way to help people using your gifts. I resisted it for a long time. I met Debs. She's very significant in all of this. I won't go into all the details, except to say that the reason I'm here now is really because of that reading. I have embraced it. It's changed my life significantly. And I truly believe now that I can actually help more people than I did before because of the cards. And one of my goals is to help to overcome the prejudice or the fear or the just not knowing about it and spread the word. So to finish off, I'm going to just let you know that on the 21st of May, which is a week on Thursday, I'm starting a Learn Tarot course. I will put some details in the box here. In fact, I'll just, okay, I'm putting something up here. And it is for anybody who, I think I've already got a couple of bookings on. I only put it up 3 days ago, and there will be limited numbers. It's for anybody who wants to learn tarot. It's going to be Zoom. It's going to be 6 weeks, 1 hour session, 1 hour a week at 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock. I can't remember. Anyway, Thursday mornings, starting a week on Thursday. It's only going to be £60 for the whole session. And you can pay in £10 weekly slots, which is sort of half what I will be charging. But it's for anybody who does want to learn how to use tarot, and by the end of it, you will be able to understand the cards and do a little reading for yourself. I do coach you with the cards, as you know, and as of tomorrow, I was just telling Debs this before, 4 o'clock tomorrow, I'm going to try for the first time ever on my The Quirky Coach Facebook page. I'm going to be doing live readings. So if you want to pop in your diary 4 p.m. tomorrow and come over to the Quirky Coach web page, Facebook page, sorry, there will be 1 card readings. So, you know, you can come on the live thing. Some of you know I've been doing live ones on Facebook, but they've just been chats. And you say, I'd like a card. And I just literally do that and give you a card and give you whatever comes into my head. God, right. That was a lot of talking, wasn't it? I hope that was all right. Let me just check my notes. Yes, I've got to look at that, I think. If you want to learn tarot for yourself, there's a really good book called Tarot from Hay House Basics. I may not have time to pop it, oh, thanks, Deb, on here, because I might just answer some questions now, but I will put it on Deb's page and on mine. So if you would like, I will put a link to the Learn Tarot course. If you would like to join, can I just recommend you do so quickly, just in case? Be lovely if it gets really booked up quickly. Oh yes, thank you for the reminder. This is the link, by the way, for the at the bottom for the try booking. Finally, thanks for that reminder, Debbie, about oracle cards. These are oracle cards. The difference between oracle and tarot are very specific. They normally have 78 cards, give or take 1 or 2. They have 22 major cards which have specific meanings, and they have 4 suits which have specific meanings, and they are for very much more in-depth. Oracle cards, which tend to be give a message. You can have all kinds of different oracle cards. They could be animal spirit cards, angel cards. These are wisdom of the oracle cards. They will very often only have 1 or 2 words on them. So this one just happens to be on the bottom of the deck, which is also by the coincidence on the cover. And what does this say? To be fair. This is about balancing one thing with another. It will have a word or a phrase, beautiful imagery, and it will have a little book with it. Most of the tarot decks have this as well. And it will give you a message, positive or uplifting or guidance to help you through. They're a really nice way. A lot of people use oracle decks just to pull a card every day to give them a little message. They might keep it somewhere visible. There are lots and lots and lots of those. I'm actually in the process, in the early stages of designing an oracle deck inspired by the coronavirus to help with people going through challenging times. Okay, right, Debs, if you'd like to unblock everybody. I hope that was all right, and if anybody's got any questions, please ask.
Has anybody got any questions for Zoe?
Zoe?
Yes, Deirdre.
After your 6-week course,
yes.
Will you be doing another one after that?
Yes, I've already had 1 or 2 people actually over in the States saying, you know, because morning isn't a good time for them. So I'm probably going to do another one, which will be in late afternoon, early evening. Depending, what will happen is I'm going to ask people to, you know, if they can't sign up for this one, just to let me know, email me, tarot@zoedawes.com, and I'll put the name on the list. So yeah, but it'll be probably at a different time.
Yeah, because this is all new to me. Although I've sort of like seen about it in the past and years gone by, I'd like to sort of like you mentioned tarot at Hay House or whatever. Get some cards. Get used to. I think the 21st of May would be too soon for me.
Fair enough. Absolutely. I mean, you know, people who are coming on have not done tarot at all before.
Yeah.
So, you know, I would say it is aimed at total beginners, or anybody who's just dipping a toe in has maybe got a bit. But I mean, assuming I get enough interest, I mean, that'll be the thing. As I say, I've got 2 booked on already. I don't want to have the groups too big because, you know, we want to be able to use the screen properly and get time for sort of one-to-one. At the end of it as well included. Mind you, I will say, Deirdre, it will double in price after that. Because I'm doing it at the £10 a session because it's the first one. So it will be £20 a session afterwards. And you get a free reading at the end of it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Questions?
Hi, Zoe.
Yeah.
I'm literally just on the site trying to book.
Great.
6 weeks course, but it's only allowing me to do the first 2 weeks for some reason.
Oh, no, that's strange. It shouldn't. It should have all 6.
I don't know if you can see it.
I can't. You might need to book it on your, I don't know, unless you scroll up.
I can see all 6 courses.
Yeah.
You press either the plus or the minus to say how many you want. So I press the plus for week 1, week 2, and then when I go to week 3, it's not letting me do anything.
I tell you what, Julia, if you can try it on your laptop, I don't know why it's not working, but if not, give me a call afterwards. Joe, yes.
Okay. I'm doing it as well, and I'm on my laptop, and it's doing the same. It's saying you can only book 2.
Oh no,
Zoe.
What you can do, Zoe,
because I had somebody. Sorry, I had somebody book this morning, and she got all 6. Sorry, who's saying what?
Was it try booking?
Julie.
Using?
It's try booking, yeah.
I've just done.
They only allow you to book so many at a time.
Well, I've got all 6 came through this morning from somebody.
I've just successfully booked. Just this minute.
Okay. And Jane, is Jane Booker here?
Yes, I booked all 6 fine. Yeah. And I did it on my phone the other day.
I don't know. I wonder if I don't know is the answer, because I certainly know the 2 people Jane's booked on and somebody else they'd managed. So all I can say is just try again in a few minutes, but I'll contact Try Booking if I keep getting messages. Can I there was one thing I just wanted to ask. Where is she? Jackie, can you just wave to me? Yeah. Jackie, you're the one that's most recently had the coaching with the cards session, aren't you? Can you just say what you thought of it, how it went for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it was last Wednesday, and it was absolutely fantastic, really. I had an hour's coaching first of all, and I talked about obviously my business and what obstacle I thought I had, well, I knew I had, and first of all, she helped me come to the conclusion myself, which is what coaching is all about. I knew it was already in there, and she made me say it out loud, which is important, isn't it, to admit what the problem or issue was. So that was a great thing, first of all. But then we had 15 minutes tarot reading, obviously all about the business. And we had 1 card for 1 pack. I can't remember what the pack was, Zoe. What was the pack?
I can't remember.
Anyway, we had 1 card for 1 pack.
Quantum Oracle.
That's right. And as it happened on the 1st of May, April was a very emotional time for me, and it has been an unveiling and unpeeling, which I needed to do. And a lot of people have been gone through that in April, I think. And in May, I just woke up on 1st of May and decided, no, this month's all about fun. And that's very much about what my business, I want to implement a lot of fun in it. Fun leads to happiness. So the first card that actually dropped out when she was shuffling them was the fun and joyous card. So that was very apparent. And and that's sort of confirmed to me that I'm on the right track with my new business idea, which I've had to be creative and change route really. And then the next 3 cards were just confirmation. Again, the Wheel of Fortune with a lady on top balancing. My business is called the Balance Approach, so it's kind of up to me whether I make this business work or not. And then there was one which was a creative card, which was all about my new ideas and saying everything's there for me. It's up to me to make it work. But basically, what I'm saying is it was absolutely fabulous, and it gave me the courage to sort of say, right, I've got this, and just opened a few doors for me. So yeah, it's absolutely fabulous. I highly recommend anyone to have the business coaching and the tarot card reading as well. So thank you, Zoe, you're amazing.
Thank you very much.
I'm the same, Zoe. I done both of you as well, didn't I?
You did, Catherine?
Yeah, I had a business and life coaching and the tarot cards, and all wonderful, and everything's just gone on since then, really, hasn't it? So it's all coming true that you said, and it was brilliant. Wow. Highly recommend you.
Any other questions?
Sorry.
Oh yeah, Deb, sorry.
No, I was saying you don't need me to recommend you, do you? Because you've been my business coach for, is it about 18 months now? Yeah. So I've been through some peaks and troughs, shall we say, haven't I, Zoe?
Certainly have.
The tarot was very accurate at the time, so a big thank you for that. And it's been a great, you know, brilliant for you doing this as well this morning. I think everybody's enjoyed it, haven't we?
Yeah,
very much so.
Can I just get a photo of everyone, because I know we've got to finish off in a sec. So can you all just smile and wave, or put your thumbs up, or do whatever you want to do? Lovely. Brilliant. Is there any final questions before we finish off?
So there's somebody very new to all this world, spiritual world. I didn't realise there was more than one Claire to start with. I only heard recently about the clairvoyant and clairaudient, clairsentient. I've also heard of claircognizant, and I don't know if I'm that. I kind of just know stuff without knowing how I know it. Is that something you can use in tarot as well? Is that gel with tarot?
Absolutely, Martin. I would say claircognizance are someone, yes, it is a knowing rather than a feeling. So yeah, there are 2 or 3 others as well, but definitely just learn to trust it more and more and go with it, and don't question where it comes from.
Yeah, I think that's my problem. I overthink stuff, and I think I'm okay.
Yeah, I've had to learn that, you know, there's some stuff that does my head in. I just have to say, okay, I just have to accept that.
Fair enough. Thank you.
You'll find that as you go through the journey, Martin, that you'll start to use different ones at different times.
Yeah.
Right.
And spirit will get through to you however you respond better, but then they'll change you onto something else and change onto something else again. So just be open to everything. That's use your body as a channel and listen, feel, hear. And
brilliant, thank you.
The ones that say they're clairvoyant, they don't actually see them physically, they can see them in their imagination as well. You know, there's so much. Just be open and see what comes in.
Just go with the flow. Yeah. Thank you for that. Brilliant. Thanks.
Sorry, can I just add before we go? My next talk is on Friday at 4 with a gentleman called Greg Philbean. He's going to be talking around NLP and that sort of thing. So I will put out some information about that. Also, a week on Sunday, I'm doing a charity online psychic night with 2 lovely guys some of you may have met from Purple Mountain, Steve Hemingway and Chris Stevenson. It's only limited numbers, so if anybody's interested in that, it's £10 a ticket. Obviously the money goes to one woman at a time, so that'll be very interactive. They're doing online, giving people online messages as well. So
sorry, do you know what time that is? Sorry, Debs, what time is that on Sunday?
It's 7 o'clock on the 24th of May. But there's only limited spaces for people to. So I'll send you the details. If anybody else is interested in it, just obviously put your emails on the chat, and Zoe will pick them up and get in touch about her course. And a really big thank you. So is there anything else you want to add this morning? Or you talked out?
Exhausted.
Yeah, well done, Zoe. It's been really interesting, and look, I'm sure a lot of you enjoy the course that she's putting on.
Yeah. So, thank you, Zoe.
I hope to see you on Friday, and hopefully we'll continue, because I think it's a great way of connecting everybody of like minds, isn't it?
Yeah. Debbie, can I just say quickly?
Yes.
Like Chris, is it the ones who are doing the psychic night?
Chris Stevenson and Stephen Hemingway.
Is that the one who was at your? Is it the Chris who was at your last Roots events at Garstang?
Yes.
Right. He came to me. Do you remember me telling you?
Yeah.
When I went into the room and he came to me and 60-odd people and did it straight away, and everything he said was completely true. So he's absolutely brilliant. So it'd be well worth watching them, definitely.
Yeah,
he's very good.
They run the Purple Mountain Centre at Fleetwood.
They do.
Right.
Yeah, I've worked for them at the church there, and they're very good.
All right.
Yeah.
I went to the rooms where you go in at a certain time at the Roots of Life, and I just happened to be in that room. I hadn't planned to be in, and then he came to me within 5 minutes and said the things. He got my mum through, and he just literally, it was absolutely brilliant, and everything he said was completely true. And he actually said, let me just show this one quick. He said, "Oh, I'm being shown a picture of your mum with pearls around her neck, and let me show you this picture in the background just quickly. I think you'll be amazed." You see it?
Yeah. Amazing.
Straight away, and straight away he said, "I've got your mum. She's showing me when she's younger with pearls around her neck," and that was just the most like, I couldn't believe it. So yeah, it definitely is brilliant. So well worth going to it. So
what a beautiful mother.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, she was wonderful. So
no.
But yeah, she came through and she said all sorts of stuff to me, and she said that she said, "I'm going to be a healer." Well, I'm a healer, but she said, I do Reiki healing, but she said, "I'm going to do it more this year, and it's all going to happen for me." And I've got MS, and they said it's all going to be sorted. I'm going to sort of not cure myself, get better and stuff. So it's all sort of coming how it should be this year. So, and since I met Debs, I'm good friends with Debs now, and met Martin recently. I'm supposed to be doing work with him and stuff, and it's all happening. Everything's meant to be as it's meant to be. It's all planned. This year is my year.
No.
So, yeah, it's going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to it. This lockdown was meant to be. It's made everybody stop and think and do things they have to do. I completely believe that.
Totally.
So, yeah, that's my story. Well, a tiny bit of my story.
No, thank you.
Too long to tell anybody. For about 5 hours.
No.
So, yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah,
Thank
great.
you. You've both got stories to tell.
Sure we have.
Yeah, sure you have.
So is everybody okay? Have you? Like I say, I don't like them to end. I love connecting with everybody. It's amazing. But again, we're back on the Friday at 4, and hopefully, I was speaking to Zoe this morning, so I may look at doing an online Roots of Life event as well. Rather than it be, because I don't know, I can't work in at a venue. My next event was meant to be in June at Barrow. Obviously due to the situation, I can't do that now. So I'm going to look at maybe looking to do an online event. So watch out for that. I'm always doing something, as you know.
Thanks, Debs.
Oh, and Kevin's on next week, aren't you, Kevin? Kevin will be here next Monday.
Yeah. He's gone, has he?
He's muted at the minute.
Yep. I'll be here next Monday, Mind Mediation. And if we were a car, we'd be a Tesla. Revolutionary take on a fundamental principle. So how will we do things so differently with Mind Mediation against hypnotherapy?
Yeah, so it'll be next Monday at 11. So a huge thank you to Zoe, and I look
Zoe.
forward to you soon. Thank you, Zoe.
Thank you.
Have a great week, everybody.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, I must
Thank you, Debs, again for organising. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Debs,
Yeah.
I bought a ticket for the psychic evening, but my husband was wanting one, but it didn't give me the option of getting two. Is it just like?
Oh no, you just need the one, Jennifer. Because you'll be both watching it together, won't you?
Yes. Yeah. That's brilliant. Okay, thank you.
So,
yeah,
just need to end the meeting now, daughter Zoe.
I'll speak to you later. Zoe,
Yeah.
Zoe, are you still there? Just
I'm
quickly,
here.
you know, is there a lot of walks that you don't know about round camp? Because I've got a few to tell you if you want me to tell you about. Do you know the one in the fields that overlook the bay that I was talking about last time I was on?
Did you see the last one I did on Saturday?
No,
I don't know if it's the same one, but
I'll check if it's the same one.
Have a look at my Facebook one. I did go around the back of the house and up round the back there. So
round the back of the garages, through the fields.
Yes.
Right, that's the one then.
It's lovely, isn't it? With a nice view across the bay. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. That's what I was meaning. There's so many. You're probably learning them all every day now, aren't you? So
I had no idea there were so many walks just from the store.
There's loads, but there's more further on that. So
this is nice for me to hear as well, because if what Catherine and I are organising, hopefully with the lodge and stuff, I want to do walks to go out and do the meditating out in nature and then doing the writing. So sounds perfect location for it, to be honest.
Yeah,
can't wait.
That's another subject to talk about sometime, isn't it?
That's another different meeting.
Yeah, that'll be us soon.
I think Debbie must have gone. But anyway, that's lovely. Thank you, everybody, and I'll send you the chat link because some people have put their email on there, Zoe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I definitely want your course, Zoe. Count me in for that.
Just have a look. If you just click that link, Martin, it'll outline it. Or if you have a look on my Facebook page, but it gives also on my website. I tell you what, if are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, there is another link but it's the same info as on my website.
Okay, I can find it on there. That's fine. I'll do that.
Which is here we go.
I think I need a reading as well, actually, from you at some point. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you do the course, you get a free reading.
Oh well, there you go. I shouldn't have told me that. You should have put me reading first, and then got me the course.
I'm not about. It's all about being fair.
Fair enough. No, well, I'll definitely do that. Thank you.
Cool.
Have you taken that down, Martin? On the chat?
Okay,
I mean, the booking one is the try, but I mean, as I say, it's just that because it's only going to be £10 a session, this one, because I'm piloting it, and then I'm going to do it for £20 a session next, and I'm then going to do an advanced one once I've, assuming get enough people signed up.
Yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. I've written a link down. Thank you, Debs.
Brilliant. Okay.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay.
Speak soon, everybody.
Suppose we better go then, really.
See you soon.
Lovely to see you all.
Cheers, Debs. Okay.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.